So is this how it starts?
Certain extent.
Liberal hive mind. I
Hey
think.
guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel.
All right. So I don't know what his voice is, but this guy, Andy, and I do not know how to pronounce his last name. He's like he's a grifter. I'll put it that way. Pretty much anything this dude says, assume that it was a reaction he fired off thinking he could generate like clicks from skewing it in a way where he would have plausible deniability after the fact. That's what he's professional at. He breaks things very early with bullshit information, and then when it's corrected, he just tweets without any sort of picture or anything, a very quiet one-line correction so that nobody sees it. That's his deal. He does the same thing Fox News does.
Channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, it seems as though the American electorate, at least to a certain extent, a certain sect of the American electorate, has been in fact intimidated by the mob. We've been going over this for a very long time. Will the American people succumb to the pressure of the mob and their...
So the Carlson, the mob, that's my other favorite thing. It's clearly spoken by somebody who hasn't, other than Andy, who did catch, like, I think it was a bottle or something to the head after fucking around. Like, not like he deserved the violent act by any means, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't do what he did and not expect that there was some degree of danger. You feel me? Not to say that it was at all justified, but it was framed, the attack, as like this random, like he was just minding his own fucking business and just got bodied, but like he was in the pit and he caught an elbow to the teeth. Andy did. But like this, that's the mob maybe, but there is no mob to speak of that I don't know.
Political intimidation, violence, and blackmail, or will the American people stand up, stand their ground, and vote for law and order? It seems as though more people than expected voted for Joe Biden in some sort of false hope that things will go back to normal.
This law and order thing gets me because where is it? Where's the law and order? Trump's law and order, his special brand of special law and special order that he always fucking brags about, that he's going to use if you reelect him. Where is it? Is he hiding it in his pocket? Or is it more quid pro quo to the entire country? I'll fix him if you elect me again. Because either he can't, or he's dangling it as a carrot in front of your face for your vote. And neither of those are okay. Neither of those are the behavior of a well-adjusted human being. Both of those things are very shitty to do. To watch people get the shit kicked out of them, and whether you think they deserve it or not, as them being a protester, watching people engage in violence that he is fucking claiming to be capable of stopping, but just fucking won't, and all he can do all day is talk about how worse it's going to get if Biden is elected. Like, that's another one of those things for me that I can't imagine needing more information than that for people. But clearly they need a lot more because half of us voted for him.
There is no normal. And frankly, even before Donald Trump, things were not going in a direction of normalcy. Contingency of the Democrat Party, and let's not call them a part of the Democrat Party, but just the far left extremists have been an ongoing issue, a disease metastasizing, festering within Western civilization.
Bro, this is the most editorial language I've ever heard in my life. The other problem I have with videos like this, if you're watching something like this, you need to understand that you're not learning anything. You know what I mean? Nobody that's teaching you something uses language like that. People that are telling a fucking story use language like that. And even if they're not, and they're being honest, it's the biggest red flag. Maybe I should look into this. See how many non-essential adjectives somebody might use to describe something. Because this guy, what did we see? 2, and then he launched into I forget the term for it. but he made the comparison to a cancer metastasizing, you know what I mean? I don't know what prize that type of writing gets you, but it's not going to be one for like education.
For a while now. We tried to warn you, but you didn't listen. And we warned you again, once again, voting
Yeah, exactly.
for Joe Biden.
Or when you're trying to write lyrics or something. Or in this case, I guess that's the same thing. Making a YouTube video, it's pretty close.
Biden is not going to solve racism. Voting for Joe Biden is not going to make these rioters, these Antifa goons, go away. Democrats are already taking victory laps. They've seemingly thwarted the fascist dictator in office, the evil orange man, President Donald Trump.
So hold on, I need to point something out here. The blind leap that it requires to go from describing and using such colorful language that I already remarked on, so that was perfect because it led right into this. Describing extremist government officials that are metastasizing society like a cancer is what he just said. Antifa goons is what he just said, yeah? That was all. That gets a pass. But then he gets to mockingly be like, oh, the fascist, right? The fascist, that's what they call him. They're crazy. Like, those two things, a fascist and then an anti-fascist cancer that's metastasizing society, you don't get to make one sound ridiculous and the other not and be taken seriously. You know what I mean? That's like goofy shit.
Funny how they call him a fascist when he's trailing in the states that he needs right now to win the election. Seems real fascist. He must be the worst fascist in the entire world for the electoral system. The whole system to be rigged against him. Interesting how he's such an overlord.
Whoa. I need to rewind that. Hold on.
The whole system to be rigged against.
Yeah, I heard that part. It's very stupid as well.
Call him a fascist when he's trailing in the states that he needs right now to win the election. Seems real fascist. He must be the worst fascist in the entire world for the electoral system. The whole system to be rigged against him. Interesting how he's such an overlord, yet people feel free to.
What? Is this absolute dingus suggesting that he can't be a fascist because he's not already in charge? Is that what we're saying? Are you saying, whoever the fuck made this video, the liberal Hivemind, that somebody that were a fascist, that they would already have to be in control and participating in an electorate system? For anyone to call them a fascist? Because I hope not, because that's fucking ridiculous. That means he's not a dictator. That means he's not already in control of a fascist regime. But I guess the subpoint to that is that he literally just leaned the rigged system onto that definition of a fascist. This motherfucker is all over the place right now. Like, how can you... I'm trying to figure out if this dude knows, if this is like just a grift for this individual, or if it's like they actually have a pineapple for a brain. But that may be even too generous. Maybe a doorknob. Just held in a scrungus of skin on the bottom, on the inside of their skull, and it just clanks around inside of there like a bell, and that's the things that they say. Because it makes about as much sense. Anyway,
criticize him non-stop with not a fear in the world, but voting for Joe Biden has not solved the issue. And so once again, we were right, friends. Antifa is ripping cities apart, Democrat cities apart once again, regardless of the outcome of the election. I'm gonna say this.
Does he say which ones? I'm listening for which ones.
Straight and no apologies. If you voted for Joe Biden because you were scared of rioting, you are a coward and you have done a disservice to your nation. Speaking of cowards who have done a disservice to their nation.
Excuse me. I'm going to refer back to my earlier comment about it's really funny how they gloss over this shit. Has anybody asked, does anybody know if anybody has asked Trump this question that I'm asking about Antifa and him stopping it, but like not now, later. Why is Trump's aversion to stopping it now have anything to do with Biden? And how is Biden going to make it worse that Trump, because Trump keeps saying that, oh, they won't let me help, right? That's his thing. They won't let him help. But Biden's going to make it worse. I would be great in politics. Well, I appreciate that. It's possible. I'm extremely passionate about this kind of shit. And I think I'm only so passionate about it because I see people like, well, the officials, people in charge and shit, straight up lying and taking advantage of people in a way that really should be, what do you call it? Not something that someone, not only wouldn't they do, but do in the open. And it's like they intentionally confuse the issue, and it's fucking disgusting. And people like whoever made this video are equally as bad, but all in all, this person is a product of this fucked up system anyway. You know, pushing misinformation is fine. I mean, fine's not the right word. I despise it. But as somebody who's doing this potentially, I could only assume, to make a living or something, I remember a lot of classes with like mock trials. Those are fun. I always enjoyed those.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler. Ted Wheeler has faced intense criticism for his handling of the 6 months of violent far-left protests. The handling. He hasn't handled a thing. He says he anticipates a new president will take off the heat and quell further unrest. Give me a break, you absolute dork. That.
Hold on, though. 3 times now we've mentioned how Trump's the only one who can stop them, but he fucking hasn't yet. And also, I'm becoming more irritated at his weird fake laugh.
That didn't necessarily age well. In fact, it instantly got debunked pretty much 2 minutes later. Antifa marched through downtown Portland tonight chanting, F Ted Wheeler.
Is this supposed to be scary? Hivemind? Is this supposed to be Antifa? They're vibing, dude. They're just marching, spreading a fucking message.
Through downtown Portland tonight chanting, F Ted Wheeler. This is what happens when the left does not get what they want, specifically in
They protest. They protest. Get a load of these fucking losers. Am I right? What the fuck is this guy's rub? Are you kidding with this shit?
Portland, there was the Antifa mayoral candidate. She got decimated, as you'd probably expect. A lot of the polls were completely off, and people vote in a very moderate and milquetoast manner. And so Antifa.
What does that mean? We're on like 0.5 or 6 that this fucking guy has brought up and has not. He just glosses over it, and he really he sells it. I'll give him that. He sells it like it makes sense, but it doesn't make any fucking sense. People vote in a milquetoast manner, my dude. What the fuck are you talking about? They vote for people you don't agree with, is what he means. But what a weird way to frame that. Especially when he's factoring in this crazy, the way he's peppering in crazy anecdotal non-truths and outright lies. Like he just snuck that fucking bit about the polls being fucked up or the voting being fucked up in like a jab, like he was leading in with the hook about the milquetoast thing that you could tell he really wanted to drop. He's been waiting for an excuse to use that word.
Antifa is not very happy. We've got this piece right over here. National Guard called out in Portland as widespread violence erupts over ... Ted Wheeler. And Portland has...
Hold on, what publication was that? Did he mention it?
Antifa is not very happy. We've got this piece right over here. National Guard...
Where's it? What publication is this? Is he intentionally leaving this out? Am I tripping? Can you guys see where this is? Wonder why. Let's find out, shall we? I'm just typing the headline verbatim. 4 period, then an ellipse. That's a bold statement. Found it. I found it. He photoshopped it out. Or is this the mobile version? It must be the mobile. It's got to be the mobile version. Because you can see it clear as day across that fucking header in the page that I'm looking at. Yeah, so it's the Gateway Pundit. Yeah. Their tagline, like the line they identify, their what is it called? A sign? Forgive me for not remembering broadcast terms. But like, you know how it's like Fox News, fair and balanced, right? The Gateway Pundit, which is where this knucklehead got this fucking article from, is where did it go? Wait, I think I can actually pull it up on the. We report the truth and leave the Russia collusion fairy tale to the conspiracy media. Is that supposed to sell me on a balanced coverage? Because it fucking didn't. I noticed how he left that out. Looked like it was on purpose. He left out the website on purpose, I think, because he knows it's a fucking crock of shit website.
Guard called out in Portland as widespread violence erupts over ... Ted Wheeler. And Portland has once again devolved into absolute abject chaos.
Abject chaos. My man says abject chaos. It's a bunch of fucking nerds standing around a flag they can't even seem to light on fire. It's just smoldering. There better be more footage of abject chaos.
Antifa takes selfies and photos in front of burning American flag.
They're edgy. They're edgy. Is that what it is? Trump doesn't like edgy people? Because the Punisher skulls and fucking blue line flags and guns and talking about militias beg to differ. How is that different? Can somebody explain to me how at all that is different?
Residents have been hit hard by both the COOF restrictions, months of riots in Portland. The lovely Rita restaurant was smashed up by Antifa tonight, #Portland riots. Antifa have gathered in front of the Justice Center in downtown Portland tonight. They started a fire. Law enforcement are asking Antifa rioters to disperse from the street in downtown Portland so they can respond to someone's medical emergency in one of the buildings. Oh, what a surprise. Antifa fighting for justice stops first responders from helping somebody with a
Oh, it's Andy. So I'm gonna go ahead and not believe that there's a first responder trying to get through. For the reason that he's saying this, for one, let's see if we can find his retraction. Or somebody in the fucking comments calling him on his bullshit. That yesterday, 2 days ago. All right, I'm pretty sure I can find it. He just posts a whole lot of shit. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Nobody's verified it, so I can't say that it's definitely false.
medical
But I'm hesitant.
emergency. Wow, they're such incredible people. I feel so much compassion towards them and their cause. Rats.
Nobody's
Few
there.
businesses spread in Antifa's march of terror through downtown Portland. And I'm guaranteeing you that some of these business owners in Portland probably voted for Joe Biden for the Democrats down ballot because they didn't want their businesses once again to be subject to this. Well, turns out it didn't work. Antifa will
Hold on. Let's listen to that again. Let's listen to that part again.
Few businesses spread in Antifa's march of terror through downtown Portland. And I'm guaranteeing you that some of these business owners in Portland probably voted for.
I don't feel at all bad for implying that Andy was lying, because this fucking ding dong of a person who's narrating this video is like, probably. Not only did they probably do this thing, but I'm going to pontificate on why. But I'm going to present it as if it's a valid fucking statement to make ever, for me to infer anybody else's intentions or actions. And also, again, brings me right back around to the point that, like, why the fuck is voting for Trump going to fix it if he can't fix it now? The motherfucker is the president. Even if he loses this election, he'll still be the president until next year. The fuck is he doing? If it's such a fucking problem, why isn't he fixing it? Why is he gaslighting you, his voters, into thinking that he's gonna fix it later? If you had a spouse that treated you that way, everybody would tell you to fucking leave them.
For Joe Biden for the Democrats down ballot because they didn't want their businesses once again to be subject to this. Well, turns out it didn't work. Antifa will stop at nothing to attack Western civilization as a whole. It is an attempted insurrection of government. That is their goal. Their stated goal is one very
stated goal of Antifa. Maybe if there's a fascist in the government, sure. The stated goal of Antifa is fuck fascism.
Simple thing. Replace the current government system with anarcho-communist communes. I laugh saying it because it's so ridiculous.
You notice this, what he's showing from here is the loop of people walking around a corner twice while he's talking about shit being smashed. Do you understand what that's imprinting in your brain? He could have taken footage from a fucking street festival where people were just moving to the next block, and it would have the same effect if you put it in front of this narration.
Ridiculous. And the fact that Democrats or people who are voting Democratic think that these people
fucking
are on
dude,
their side
middle-aged man
or
walking
see things rationally
with like gear
after they
and
elect
stuff. They look like
a
Antifa.
geriatric incompetent, a man with a history of racial insensitivity, and some would argue even beyond that, the most establishment do-nothing system with anarcho-communist communes. I laugh saying it because it's so ridiculous. And the fact that Democrats or people who are voting Democratic think that these people are on their side or are going to see things rationally.
They are those people, you absolute fucking rhubarb. This dude is out of his fucking mind. But I guess this is the narrative being spun by the fucking right-wing media. I read stuff about it, but Fox doesn't do this shit. Fox well, maybe Tucker Carlson does, but that dude's a fucking lunatic. This is so fucking dumb. Like, whether or not you agree with the politics of a situation or whatever, and like, as far as the damaging businesses goes, it's not for me to speak on. Some part of me wishes we could get through this without that, but it doesn't affect me either way. I can't experience what the people, other than like outside agitators, which aren't generally a thing until somebody says they're a thing. Because, let's see, the government used the same fucking excuse when they used to do the same thing they're doing to these people, except with dogs and fire hoses in the civil rights movement in the 60s. Everybody forgets that. They go, why can't y'all be peaceful? Like in the 60s or whatever. It wasn't fucking peaceful in the 60s. The cops were doing the same thing. And people were doing the same thing. They were watching it happen from some sort of measure of safety, whether it because they were white and not involved, or like just any other person who's not in front of it. And a narrative gets spun, and then suddenly you're okay with watching the cops injure and literally just brutalize people who were initially trying to protest. And then you're somehow convinced that every single time a group gathers to protest, they start smashing shit. It's not the case. They did that in the fucking 60s too. Nothing about the protests in the 60s were nonviolent. They would just sick the fucking dogs on them and blow them out of the street with a water hose. And people died and shit as a result. But while it was happening, they were riots. That's exactly what the fuck is happening here.
Nationally, after they elect a geriatric incompetent, a man with a history of racial insensitivity, and some would argue even beyond that, the most establishment do-nothing Democrat in American history to office is a complete farce. These people are not on your side, and they have proved it at every point and turn. Ted Wheeler once again submitting to the mob, looking like an absolute coward. Last time you submitted to them, Ted,
Dude,
they came to your...
Says the guy who's afraid of a camera crew and people with loudspeakers in the back of a truck. Wheeler went out and got pepper sprayed. Hivemind, author of this video. He got booed. I don't like the dude, but he basically did the thing from Game of Thrones where she walks around naked and they're like shame and shit. Essentially, he did that. And I think some of the protesters were probably yelling shame, and that's why I made that comparison. But he had egg on his face. He went and stood out there, got fucking pepper sprayed after watching a little bit of ruckus behavior at worst, and then understood what was happening. He didn't succumb to the fucking mob. He subjected himself to what they were going through for like one night.
Apartment building and burnt the dentist's office on the bottom floor. They are not on your side. But let's continue, because they went on an absolute rampage. St. Andre Basset Church is one of the many buildings that had their windows broken out during this evening's riot. This organization helps those who are homeless, experiencing poverty, mental health issues, and substance abuse. Wow, I definitely have...
Again, I gotta point to the fact that anybody who does that is not Antifa. They're no more Antifa than the Bad Apple Cops are good people or whatever. I fucked that transition up or that association, but you see what I'm going for? The difference is when these people start doing this like as a part of Antifa, somebody will say something to them usually or understand that now shit's popping off, you know, whatever. Or maybe it's people that are impossibly frustrated. When they smash up a fucking church, I highly doubt that's the case, but I can't say one way or the other. And like shit getting broken is bad, obviously, but acting like this is tearing society's fabric apart while the cops are mobbing up on vehicles that have nothing to do with the fucking protest, stabbing the tires, yanking people out, shooting at them from across the street with a pepper ball paintball gun because they're in an intersection. And let's not forget killing people in the street or in an alley or in their own home more than once. I think the windows will be okay.
So much compassion for these Antifa dweebs, and they're all out assault on everyday...
Dweebs! Dweebs, says the guy using a thesaurus to poorly illustrate points of... I don't even know the word. He's trying to mock people, but holy shit, this guy sounds like an insufferable Sears catalog full of tools.
Gay Americans. It's a complete joke. A man stands guard with weapons in hand outside of the gay men's underwear store. Businesses were targeted by hashtag Antifa tonight in their March of Terror. Wow, once again,
what does that fucking mean? Can somebody explain to me what that means? What does that say to you? When he says businesses were targeted, hashtag Antifa. While you're staring at a fucking Twitter feed. Hashtag Antifa. Does this look like legitimate media to you? Or does this look like somebody really trying to weld a narrative into your fucking brain?
Minority groups feeling threatened by the mostly white suburbanite college misfits of Antifa. Antifa in Washington, D.C. are assaulting people with cameras. Walk away or it gets worse. Seattle Antifa, quote,
because the cops will find them. Bet you didn't know about that. The cops showing up at people's fucking house later. How about in Ferguson, when this happened in 2016? The amount of people from organizations or organizers from that protest that are now dead. That certainly weren't old when those protests happened. Let's give it a little Google. Sorry, that was probably loud, but I have a bug on my mic. I didn't even see what it was. Is it a fucking fly? I love it here. 6 men from the Ferguson protests were found dead. Remember the photo of the guy who it's sort of an iconic photo, actually. Pull it up over here. Ready to go. Hold on. Ah, here we go. This guy. Edward Crawford. I'm sure you've seen the photo. Yeah, he's dead. Along with 5 others. So yeah. Forgive people if they don't want the literal mob to show up at their fucking house 2 weeks later. Or, let's see, in another state. Like, how do you think they found that dude that shot the Trump supporter? That was pepper spraying him. Not the private security fella, but the Michael Rayner or Reinald. I don't remember his last name. That was a fucking extrajudicial killing. Those marshals were deputized. So yeah, they don't want to be videotaped. I know this fucking baby carrot brain doesn't understand that kind of shit because he clearly doesn't live in the real world. The way that he speaks is not reminiscent of a person who has ever even come close to engaging with an individual involved in these protests. So I'll give him that. But yeah, that's why, just in case anybody's wondering.
Quote, press, we're gonna...
Wait, let me switch back.
Definitely put some air quotes on that. Press. Rob man of his Trump flag. It is a complete joke. We are living in a backwards universe, my friends.
Antifa press. Are you going to share the video?
Get ready for it. You might not know it yet, but you are currently living in Clown World. You've been living in Clown World, and you might just not have realized it yet.
Clown World, which is coincidentally the place that he made up. It's his dream vacation home, I guess. Because what the fuck is it? He just repeated it 3 times, laughing so heartily. Like, you should already know that you live in Clown World. Like, it's not a thing anybody's ever said before. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? It just really serves to try to drive that nail that he's trying to pin this narrative to your brain with. He's just tapping on it over and over again with this shit.
Yet, and really to cement that point forward and to prove to you that you're living in a backwards reality. Of course, we know what's happening in Arizona. By the time you watch this video, it might already be decided. We have no idea. But I'm sure you guys are aware that conservatives are protesting the slow count and the fact that Arizona was called so early by Fox News and AP News. And so they showed up to a local courthouse in Arizona. And here's the leftist narrative. Where is the National Guard? Where is the pepper spray? Where are the rubber bullets?
Notice he didn't mention what any of the protests were for in the beginning of the video. I'll go back and watch, but I bet he didn't. Because for him to be able to coat this deep-fried shit of a sentence with as much dripping sarcasm as he did, he wouldn't have been able to establish that the original protests that he's comparing them to in such a mocking fashion are protesting police brutality and just in general racial inequality in the United States. Likely because if he would have said so, the way that he was scoffing at it would have really actually sounded as fucking terrible and soulless as it is. But now he's comparing these goddamn lunatics, who apparently have never known what it was like during an election until 2 days ago. Because 2 days ago, everybody suddenly became a fucking election specialist in election law. And how these things, it never takes this fucking long. Well, it does, Gomer. It sure does. And I could go on for a very long time about this narrative about voter fraud, but I'll just say this. Being able to come up with this conspiracy and not understand that you're implying that every Democrat, okay, all of them, or at least all the ones that are working in the fucking polls, are organized enough to do this without having a single leaked email, a single leaked text message, a single piece of evidence found beforehand. But it's all organized, and it's every Democrat who could just vote anyway without the fraud and have an equal chance of winning and no risk of it being illegitimized. I promise you I'm not the only person to realize that. But these fucking lunatics really are just positive that because Trump fucking said so, they need to drive around, point guns at buildings, or threaten to, and intimidate people who are trying to count millions of ballots and make sure they don't fuck up. And they think the best way to do it, because Trump has demonized the other, which in this case is literally fucking anybody now. It started with just like Democrats, and now it's any motherfucker who doesn't agree with him. Like, if you think they shouldn't be there at all, they will yell at you like you're not a fucking human. The poll workers that they're harassing are fucking people, dude. They're not Antifa. Okay? So for them to go and scream at these fucking people as if they're part of some kind of hand-wringing cabal of cheating Democrats is fucking insane. They act like everybody else is missing the plot here. That shit is fucking crazy. And it's definitely not helping. It's not helping anybody do their fucking job to have a bunch of screaming fucking Karens over your shoulder thinking that you're in on some plot that you didn't even hear about until a week ago.
They're peaceful. Once again, the fearmonger.
They're peaceful. One of them, they were trying to force the door open. That's where that narrative came from. They were trying to blast into the place, like pushing past cops, just like they did at the fucking courthouse in Michigan. Do you know who really feels abandoned by the government? You know how Trump is saying that you're going to feel abandoned? How do you think the governor of what was it? Is her name Gretchen Whitmer? The woman who had the kidnapping plot against her. You know that wasn't her first brush with these fellas, right? Those motherfuckers were the ones storming into the building with guns and fucking operator gear, like they're part of Meal Team 6, to threaten her and everybody else in the fucking state house months ago. And then she finds out that they tried to kidnap her and talked about potentially killing her, a governor, for governing her fucking state. And what did Trump say to that? So if anybody's been abandoned, it's less so the people on the street, and it's more so the whole fucking country that isn't licking Trump's boots.
The slanderous tactics of the left continue. It has been not, as Michelle Obama said, overwhelmingly peaceful when lying about the left and their despicable actions. It has been absolutely peaceful. Yet, of course, the Democrats push the same phony narrative once again, that these evil, armed right-wingers are intimidating elections workers. Kyle Griffin on...
Bro. Let's prove me wrong. Oh, what was that? I just found it, and then I lost it again. Literally telling them to stop. Hold on.
May I have your attention?
I'm gonna restart real quick. Like, stop the count, okay? They're literally trying to disrupt it. You fucking dongus. And then this nervous Nancy over here apprehensively starts the window banging, and they couldn't even follow through with that. Do you know why they're not violent? Because they're not actually passionate. And because they haven't actually experienced a fucking transgression, especially not one that infringes on their freedom. This is cosplaying as oppression. These motherfuckers don't even know how to protest. Look at her standing there angrily with her cell phone. That's her gambit to intimidate a fucking election worker that's counting votes into stopping counting their votes. Like, that's what people seem to fail to understand about their whole shtick with these fucking protesters protesting the counts. They are implying that literally every normal fucking person who's trying to do their part for the country and count votes is in on it, and they don't understand that that might not even be the case. Exactly. They role play as victims. Yeah. They want to be oppressed. Maybe because they understand that, because the way that they see it, when people are oppressed and there's marginalized groups like other fucking races or like, not all of America is not. Real oppression exists in America. Marginalized groups are very real and they're very oppressed. And the problem comes when people who aren't oppressed see that these people get attention and they just go bonkers with jealousy and don't understand why somebody gets special treatment. Because they only look forward and don't understand the past or history of anybody in any group. They don't understand how far removed they are from the reality of thinking that somebody could fucking kill you because of who you are. And they say, oh, well, for them, it's as easy as not going to a bad neighborhood. Do you know where, like, somebody else could be hurt or abducted or killed that's not like just a white person? Like, anywhere in this country, there could be someone who flips their shit and wants to kill you because of who you are, if you're not white. It's fear, I think. It's fear. The jealousy thing maybe play a part of it, but it's a lot of fear. Well, yeah, I would agree, but it's like, they need the love and attention from everyone, you know? I don't know if it's love. I've never thought that the way to go after love would be anger, you know what I mean? But I mean, I guess I'm trying to rationalize the behavior of this group of people.
On Twitter writes, Trump supporters have tried to disrupt workers in vote processing facilities in
So I did just show that actually happening, right? As he's acting like it's fake.
multiple different states. You liar! The same thing that they did, talking about the Trump caravan, quote, trying to drive Kamala Harris's campaign bus off the road. Never happened. They're absolute liars, and people are eating this narrative up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Doing laundry, even at this time, or at this time to avoid it, and still, you can't even get rid of the risk. And that is so fucked to me, that we have people that live in this country that we say is good, and they are legitimate, have a legitimate reason to fear for their lives doing normal day-to-day shit. And they say that. You know? They're saying that. People are asking for help. And then everybody goes, that's not real. Everybody just doesn't like this one politician or another. Or that's not real, you know what I mean? You're just faking it. Yeah, definitely not. I don't know what they need. I would love to give them whatever it is they need so that they stop thinking that it's okay that they act like that's not the case in this country. Because you can ignore it for so long, but to imply that every single person that says that they're struggling is lying is silly. And even admitting 10% of them are actually struggling, those people don't vanish. The homeless folks who were sleeping under the overpass when the city would install big rocks or bollards or spikes because we live in a fucking medieval times. Those homeless people do not vanish when you tell them they can't sleep somewhere. Other vulnerable groups and marginalized groups don't just fucking go away. And then when they explode with support from people who don't want to see them have to live that way anymore, the government immediately acts like there's something amiss. There must be something else they're doing. Because it couldn't possibly be the case here.
Chugging it down like a 2-liter soy latte. It's absolutely disgusting. And this lie is being perpetuated across the entire platform, across the entire internet. Even mainstream outlets are talking.
I'm gonna again. I won't get points for this dunk, but I just showed the video of it actually, of them trying to get into the fucking building, right?
talking about armed militias outside the Arizona courthouse intimidating poll workers. Liars, absolute liars. You want to
Is
see
he repeating himself or am I rewinding this video? I'm gonna have to check that afterwards.
the truth once again? This is what's going on. They're kneeling and praying that this
Motherfucker.
president gets reelected.
Motherfucker, dude. Don't you dare show a picture of Antifa kneeling. Antifa. Or all the protesters that got shot in the head with tear gas canisters while they were kneeling.
This is the
Fucking
difference
idiot.
between the right and the left, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the difference.
Bro, are you fucking with me? This is the difference? That's what you're going with?
That I hope no matter what happens going forward continues to be the dynamic and the contrast and the reality, because this will win in the end. Some people are starting to have a different perspective, starting to get cynical and think, man, we're never going to beat the left if we keep playing like this. No, this is exactly how we're going to beat the left. This is
Oh yeah, this is what they think. Sure, sure. Yeah, all those armed militias that definitely don't exist according to this fucking pine cone. Yeah, they don't exist. And they definitely are trying to talk it out and fucking bow in front of a courthouse. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Get the fuck out of here. I guess he wasn't anticipating, or nobody that is probably a Venn diagram of people who think like I do and people who enjoy this dude's content. Not much overlap. I was in one of these groups of these fucking people who think they're going to save the country. They are not. This is not what they're doing. This is what a bunch of fucking normies are doing when they're going along with on their QAnon adventure, essentially. But it's not QAnon, so it's not extreme. So we're bringing the whole goddamn family. They're going to Golden Corral afterwards. It's not a fucking struggle. It's a goddamn election. What they're wearing, dude. Fuck. Like, they all showed up in SUVs and shit, you know? They're not... Whatever plight they think they're on is false. And also, this isn't how they normally demonstrate. There's literal video. I just made a fucking TikTok in response to somebody on TikTok calling for 120,000 veterans to go take a walk. What do you say? They're literally calling to organize and bring guns everywhere. One of them just got fucking popped for showing up to one of these polling locations, having driven from Virginia in a Hummer with a bunch of guns.
exactly how you return to civility. It might not happen immediately, but it's going to happen eventually. It might not.
These people fucking return to civility the minute they get out of their cars in the fucking aforementioned Cracker Barrel parking lot after they leave this little protest adventure that they're on.
Even happen by the next election cycle, but it's going to happen eventually. This is civility. This is protesting and rallying. And Trump supporters can be proud in their excellent, excellent track record of peaceful protests showing genuine love for President.
I'm going to die. I'm going to die right now. This is of another world.
Self, country, tradition, family, instead of being these vile creatures that we've seen on the streets who have done nothing but sow discord, wreak havoc, and intimidate voters. Literally. And I guess the last thing that I'm going to say in this video, CNN, Michelle Obama, this is called a peaceful protest. But that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one.
How
Surprise,
old
surprise,
is this
Ted Wheeler,
court
Joe
jester?
Biden getting elected are not
How old is this fucking clown?
going to fix racism. They're
Michelle Obama, this is how you protest.
not going to fix the riots. Antifa hates them probably just as much as they hate Trump and are not going to fix racism. They're not. This is called a peaceful protest.
Who's
But
they?
that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Surprise, surprise. Ted Wheeler, Joe Biden
Okay.
getting elected are not going to fix racism. They're not going to fix the riots. Antifa hates them probably just as much as they hate Trump and pretty much
What is gonna fix it then? I must ask again to the void. If not electing Joe Biden is gonna fix it, and everybody seems to know what the answer really is, why is the answer re-electing Trump? He's in office this very second. I need someone to tell me why he hasn't fixed it if he's gonna wait until after the election, and explain to me how that's fucking different than the accusation that the Democrats are wanting to lock everything down until after the election. This shit doesn't make any fucking sense. Nobody actually listens to Trump, I don't think. Nobody that supports him actually listens to what he says.
Much everyone else in government, and so we're not even close to fixing this issue going forward, but you guys are smart enough to have known that already going into this one. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe, hit the notification bell.